Not One Right Way, the podcast. It's me, your co-host, Melissa, she, her. It's just me today. Marv is otherwise occupied. I hope they're doing well. I know they're doing well, but they send their love and they miss you. And what they're watching right now is probably Physical Asia 100. We watched one episode together because they said there would be a lot of mud wrestling, and there was only some mud wrestling, so they owe me some mud wrestling. And send them all the love. And they'll be back in the next episode. Otherwise, it'll be a short intro. I can say I've been watching a lot of stuff because I work from home again, and there's too many things to name. I finally watched Common Side Effects. I'm watching Smiley Friends because everyone says it's really funny, and a lot of YouTube. So that's me. But I'm mostly excited to introduce our guest because I'm a huge fan of hers. I've been following her online for years. I think I own everything she's made at this point. Her name's Hoang-Zhu. She's an illustrator and designer. You probably know her best as Liliuhms. Hello.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm watching Physical Asia too, so
Nice.
I'm really rooting for the Philippines.
Yeah?
Yeah. I feel like we need some Southeast Asian love over on Netflix. There's not enough of it, so I'm rooting for them purely out of the
True.
Southeast Asian allyship more than more than anything.
That's good. I haven't watched much more than that one episode, but everyone says
Oh, the
it's really
first one?
good, so maybe I should watch the full
Yeah, I mean, there are
show.
some really intense moments. There's a scene I think where one of the guys from South Korea carries one of the Japanese team members, like, carries him around, and he has no physical strength to fight back. He's like a helpless
Yeah.
doll, and I think everyone's really gushing over that, for, nefariously yaoi reasons, but yeah.
Yeah. The internet loves to make a yaoi out of anything. They could just, like, take one moment.
I rewatched the scene maybe 3 or 4 times, and I can agree. There's, a lot happening in it, enough to fuel the community for a couple years, I think.
Yeah, thank God, you know? We deserve it. Um, well, usually when Marv is here, they have a special question because they're a
Mhm.
social worker. They like to dive deep with the people they work with. And so they've left me the question today, and they wanted to know what soup speaks to your soul.
Oh, soup. Oh, I guess what defines a soup to you? Because I feel like I could give a lot of different answers, and I think chowder to me falls under a soup category,
Yeah,
and liquidy soups fall under the soup category, but maybe chunkier soups also, so
I feel like
hmm.
anything you have to eat with the spoon kind of counts as soup.
Yeah. My favorite, like, food of all time is congee. I just love a good
Mm,
rice porridge. I think rice porridge counts as a soup, right?
I think so.
Probably. Yeah, it's a soup adjacent. So, yeah, that's my favorite, topped with, a soft-boiled egg, tons of green
Ooh,
onions, lots of black
yum.
pepper, and I'm a chili oil fiend. I collect chili oil, so whatever chili oil I have, I'll throw that on top too. So I think that's greatest soup of all time, and then if not, then I think a potato or corn chowder is just you can't really
Yum.
do better than that, yeah.
That sounds really good right now. I think for me, it's hard. I grew up with my dad's mom, my yaya, and
Uh-huh.
she would only for dinner make soup, but it was like this really light broth with just like angel hair noodles broken up into
Oh,
it. And that soup speaks to me. I don't even know what it was made of. It was just the lightest little broth with little noodles.
yeah. So, I
But
think that's
I
the
grew
best
up
kind
eating
of
that.
soup. Yeah,
Yeah.
something really comforting, not too much going on. There's this amazing, I think, Spanish soup that uses stale bread. So you
Mhm.
toast the stale bread and then you put it into the soup, and the broth itself is just made of, water, tons of paprika and spices, and
Ooh,
it's like one of the best soups I've ever had. It's just pieces of bread that kind of soak up in that broth. It's incredible what people do with limited resources. So I feel like
yeah.
soup is just one of those things where less is more.
Could do anything. Soup is great.
Yeah.
My sister is really funny because she doesn't like soup, but I understand because
Oh,
she
no.
lives at home with my parents and my
Oh,
grandparents,
okay.
and they only eat soup. And so she's kinda, like,
Oh,
at her limit.
anti-soup.
Yeah,
My sister's
she's
the
anti-soup.
same. We're Vietnamese, she hates pho, like, She doesn't
Oh.
like to eat pho raw. She'll eat pho if it's just the noodle, just the meat, and you put, like, a splash of the broth, but it's not
Yeah, yeah,
her
yeah.
preference, so if I'll ask her to come over and have it, or if I make some, she just will not come over. She's very anti-broths, anti-soups, which is so against, everything Vietnamese people believe in, so,
That is
yeah.
true, wow. We have to respect their opinions, but we don't have to agree, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll always take every opportunity to let everybody know, um, that she doesn't like soup, and we should all point and laugh, but, um,
You could say here on
I
the
respect
podcast, be
it.
like, "Haha, she doesn't
Not a
like soup."
safe space.
Yeah. You mentioned that you collect oils, and you collect a
Yeah.
lot of things. Can
Yes,
you
yes.
name some of the things you collect?
Um, my partner has this phrase that he tells everybody, but if it's something that's collectible, I most likely collect it. So I if it's able to be collected, if there's more than one, I'm able to collect it. So, yeah, I collect a lot of things, books and everything.
Yeah.
They can't see on the podcast, but you can see I
Yes.
have a ton of toys and books and things that I collect. Really into vintage and nostalgic like various memorabilia. I collect vintage newspaper food adverts, but specifically just the
Oh,
ones that are illustrated from like the 1950s and earlier. I just think those food adverts are amazing. So if I go to an antique shop, I'll always try to hunt down antique adverts that have been illustrated by someone. Cameras, I collect cameras. I love
wow.
like novelty cameras. So I have a lot of really funny, interesting looking ones. Clocks, vintage clocks. I really collect everything. Chili oil if I can, different kinds of just if it's
Vintage toys I've
if it
seen on your
yeah.
Instagram. Tamagotchis.
Yeah, Tamagotchi is probably the one I have probably the largest abundance of. I have hundreds of Tamagotchis, and I've just
That's
been
super
collecting them
I
for
saw the video you
years.
posted of just, like,
Yeah.
the boxes of Tamagotchis, and I was like, "Wow,
Yeah,
that's
I'm a
impressive."
dedicated collector. But I'm not the kind of collector that just buys things 'cause I just to have them. I love the satisfaction of a really good deal. So if I can get
Mm,
something for a really good price, that's what makes collecting so fun for me, is being able to get this really specific thing that I want at a price that is almost unheard of, and then feeling the satisfaction of it and being able to tell people, "Oh, I got this for really low price, it's amazing," you know? It's
yeah,
kind of the serotonin of the chase that really gets me.
that's cool. Yeah. I think I've always seen, like, your collections when you share them, and I'm like, "That's an inspiration," because, like, I love the eclecticness of it, and I like the aesthetic of it. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, 'cause my now husband says, "You're just becoming a hoarder," and I'm like, "No, no, no, it's cute, it's adding to the vibe."
Yeah.
But, yeah, I also wanna collect all these tiny little things, but I don't have space for all of it.
I know, we don't have space either, but I think I'm always telling my partner, you know, our girlies are meant to live in chaos.
Mhm.
Um, we're not meant to live, like, clean, organized lives, just chaos, and we know where everything is, and that's all that matters, so,
Exactly.
yeah, that's my mentality on it, so
Well, thank you for sharing. I'd love to pivot into the main meat of the podcast, which
Mhm,
is a little bit more about you.
mhm,
We usually start with, can you share a little bit about young Lily? Did you know from a young age if you wanted to be an artist, or did you have
mhm.
a different initial dream?
Yeah. I always drew, or I always leaned towards creative projects when I was in elementary school. I loved taking like art class in middle school and doing the art projects and assignments that I had. But I don't know if there was ever a time where I was a kid where I was like, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to become an artist. I think I always thought it was not an option for me because my family growing up as a, Vietnamese immigrant, they're very specific on, like, financial security and, rightfully so, coming over here to the US when my mom was really young and everything, having money and all of that was something that they're constantly thinking about. So, I think growing up, that idea was always reinforced in me where it's like, you need to pick something that feels realistic, something that feels like there's financial security, and I didn't really have other artists or anything that I grew up around. My mom is like an entrepreneur, person of all things, has worked in insurance and owns property, and you know, does all of those things, but it's never been in a creative field. And then I guess most of my family has owned nail shops growing up. So that was like my closest adjacent to art and the creative space and getting to see my grandparents, paint people's nails and
Yeah.
all my aunts and uncles doing that as well. So I think because of that, they felt like art is a hard life. We do art, we paint nails
Um,
and it's so difficult on your body and you don't make much out of it. So I think for me, it was never like, oh yeah, I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna become an artist or something like that. It was always like, oh, this is something I get to do for fun. And my mom really encouraged us to do extracurricular activities and, pottery and at our local YMCA and everything like that. So she always put us in those things, but it was never something that was considered a career or viable job. And then when I got into middle school, I met a friend who also liked anime and manga, and I grew up watching, anime and manga and anime and then reading manga ever since I was really, really young. So, I met them and then they happened to be someone who drew a lot as well. So we'd draw pictures together and I was like, wow, this is really fun. I love drawing. And they played a lot of online games. So I joined like online communities like Gaia Online and Club Penguin and what was known
classics.
at the time as Teeny or Me, and a lot of those kind of like online MMO type games, and I'd start posting my artwork and sharing it on there. And the cool thing about online communities, I think in the early to mid 2000s was there would always be people who have forums with their art shops where they sell their commission work and all of that. So I'd start drawing and offering, commissions for digital currency on games that I played. And it just felt really cool to get to do that and then build a community around other people who also liked art. And then I started posting on Tumblr, which also became like really present and big at the time and seeing more people who were making art their careers and getting to learn about what different avenues art could be. Because in my mind, I didn't know that art could be more than a hobby. It never even occurred to me that in animation or in all the movies that I watched growing up, people were making it. It just wasn't something in my mind. I was like, oh, cartoons, they just exist. So, discovering Tumblr was the first time where I was like, whoa, there are people behind all of this stuff. And, I really dug deep into it. And then Twitter at that time was also so huge for artists globally across the whole world sharing their work. So I started to share a lot of my stuff on Twitter as well. And then eventually Instagram came around. I started sharing that on there as well and just making a lot more art friends. And, eventually, I think when I got to high school, I was like, oh, art might be, you know, something that
A real job that
has
you can have.
potential. Yeah, yeah. I didn't even know what art school was, honestly, even graduating high school. I know people would say art school, but I was like, I don't really know what that means. Doesn't that just mean you can go to any college and you can just take any classes that are art adjacent? So yeah, I didn't go to art university or anything because I didn't even realize that was an option. But yeah.
Huh, that's totally fair. I feel like I relate to that a little because my parents, also immigrant family, didn't really know what I was doing most of the
Mhm.
time when I was trying to figure out my career. They're just like, "You say you wanna make movies, but eventually you'll change your mind when you realize that's not an option. That's not a real job."
Yeah.
Um, but it definitely took a lot of self figuring out of like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is actually a job, but it's not just directing, there's producing and
Mhm.
there's lighting, there's all these other little jobs that no one tells you about, there's secrets unless you watch the
Yeah,
credits."
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. It's a lot of self-figuring out, and for me especially, it was totally like that. Like, I went to a high school that was centered around it was called the Denver Center for International Studies. So, it
Mhm.
was mainly focused on language learning. We had a Model United Nations club and, like, a
Yeah,
debate club and things like that. It was more academic oriented in that sort of way. So, I didn't have too many people around who were also keen on art. So, really the only people that knew art and liked art like me were the people that I had
online.
made online as friends, and thankfully, a lot of my friends who I made in middle school through high school and met through on Twitter are people who I'm really good friends with now who work in the animation industry now. So it's just funny to see how life sort of works out in that kind of way, but yeah, I figured myself out, I feel like for a while, and in high school, I was just a different person altogether from the current person I am now. I mean, I think we
That's
all
good.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
we
glad
all
I'm not the same person I was in high school.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a definitely a totally different person. I feel like the person that I was in high school and maybe even through, like, the beginning of college, I would not, like, associate myself with that person anymore. I don't even think I'd be friends with myself in high school and early college.
I'm happy for them, like, I'm grateful
Yeah.
for those that person that I was, but I'm also happy I'm not
Yeah.
them, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that. Yeah, when I think back on her, I'm like, "Wow, I'm so embarrassed for you. You're you're like
So
an
young.
ignorant person. You're young. You don't know anything about the world." And
Mhm.
just oh, man, I had so many back then, I remember my MBTI, I think was ENTJ, and my Myers-Briggs now, I think is INFP. I'm the complete opposite. It's
Wow,
like
you've
E it's
really
I'm EN yeah, I'm like ENFP, INFP. I'm on, like, the border. So I'm still, like, extroverted, but leaning more introverted now. And,
nice.
yeah, no more TJ. I'm completely, like, feeling and neurotic and all these different emotions
That's
now.
awesome.
And I think it's in part to just discovering art and being able to do it for a living.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's so funny.
that's the importance of going to school, you figure out who you are.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And I wanted to talk about, like, that online presence you had
Mhm,
clearly influencing. Do you
mhm,
think all that time you spend online and online spaces influences your art now and, like, your online presence now, I think? Because the Liliuhms persona you have is
mhm.
big part of your brand. Does that come from all
Yeah,
the time you spent on Tumblr and these other Club Penguin
yeah.
type spaces?
Yeah, so initially, it's funny. So when I went to college, I actually went into college for computer science, and I went to a local college to me, so it was a commuter college, so I just had to go there every day. I didn't have dorms or anything like that, and, yeah, studied comp sci, and then I actually failed out of comp sci because 'cause I'm just not good at math. I really don't know why that
Yeah,
was. I'm
too
not good at
hard.
numbers. Yeah, I've never been good at numbers. I really don't know why that seemed like a viable option, but failed out of computer science, got on academic probation. At that time, when I got on academic probation, I had actually quit being on the internet. I decided, okay, I'm not going to associate anymore with like my online identity and presence because
Mm,
I just didn't feel comfortable with it anymore. And I was like, I need to create some dissonance between me and art and online and, all these people. So I'm just going to delete like my accounts and stuff and focus on schooling. And then, yeah, I got on academic probation. I was like, okay, I'm clearly not happy. I'm not like in a good mental space and I'm no longer talking to a lot of the people that I used to be friends with. And, it was like a rock bottom for me. So at that point I was like, okay, I'm going to start completely fresh, start new, make a brand new account, which is what we everyone knows now as Liliuhms. Yeah, I started brand new and fresh, posting art and made a brand new Twitter account and Tumblr account and started at 0 and just
mm,
started posting my sketchbook and drawings again from college. And, you know, it really got me through how hard school was for me at that time, because I was still kind of figuring it out. I just didn't know who it was I wanted to be or what it is I wanted to do, and then I found that when I was really true to who I was and true to my personal integrity and sense of self, I was a lot happier, and so I started actively really sharing stuff online and drawing works again and being part of fandoms and doing fan
yeah,
art and making friends again and, rekindling with old friends that I had used to be friends with originally when I was in high school. So, yeah, I think that thankfully has contributed a lot to who I am today and my art. And I did like a full, like, kind of like 180 on what I thought like my art was supposed to be and who I was supposed to be as a person and just genuinely sharing stuff for the sake of it. So I do think social media has really influenced the way my work has shifted, especially now, just because it saved, me from a version of myself that I wasn't happy with.
that's awesome. I think it's, like, a rare story of where social media did a good thing, versus all the horror stories you hear, but I don't know if you know Johnny Sun online,
Oh, I
where
don't think so.
he wrote, "If everyone's an alien, you're an alien too," I think is the name of the
Oh,
book.
okay, okay.
But he had a really great Twitter presence, and he did, I think, a TED Talk on, like, how how social media can be really great, and I think it's
Mhm.
a lot of that idea of, like, how community can be fostered there, especially for people who live in remote areas or don't have a community in their immediate space, and it gives
Right.
that
Mhm.
freedom of expression like you experienced. So it's
Mhm.
nice to know that you were able to post and get a positive, you know, response or at least feel it for yourself, not the immediate validation that
Yeah.
didn't come.
I think it's a lot easier or better for me because I am from Colorado. I've been in Colorado my whole life, raised here my whole life. So I've never been part of any of the major industries, I would say, like in
Yeah,
California or New York, any of those kind of big entertainment hubs. And I think because I'm not surrounded by people all the time who are maybe part of the arts or are quote unquote influencers, content creators, things like that, it makes it a lot easier for me to have a really healthy relationship with my social media and social media pages because I kind of view it as the same way I viewed my Tumblr blog. This is like a space for me to share and shitpost with the internet,
yeah,
to sort of treat it like, you know, FaceTiming with a friend or an update with a group of friends or something like that. I have like a very casual approach to how I handle social media. And I think it's influenced me just as a person in that kind of way. And a lot of people have a negative sort of mindset around what socials and social media is and should be. I hear too many people one too many times when I'm at events talking about things like followings or their numbers or their statistics or how they're not getting enough likes, all of that. I have kind of made it very intentional and a priority on my end to not think about that kind of stuff because I just don't think it's positive, and I don't think you can grow an organic, very nurtured community of friends online if you are thinking about all of those factors too much. It might work for other people to be a little bit more calculated about how they post and, like, if they post at a certain time of day or something like that. If they post at, like, exactly 2 o'clock, then their main demographic in the East Coast and, all of that. I've had people who
yeah,
who
it's
think
really
like that.
intense.
Yeah, it's pretty, yeah, intense, and it works for some people. I know a couple artists who are very strategic about how they post in order to meet X amount of followers or something like that over a certain time. I personally never cared about that sort of growth or following or really anything, and of course, because I do have, like, a larger presence online, I have more people buying my stuff and seeing my stuff. Absolutely. I won't deny that there is, like, factors that play into that, but I think just having a genuine personal integrity with how you present yourself and share yourself in the world showcases a lot about you and your work, like, in your mind, in other people's minds, just in general. So that's kind of the way I've always carried myself, and, like, for me, on my apps, I have other apps downloaded that will hide all of my numbers and statistics so I don't have to see them. On
Nice.
Instagram, I very intentionally make sure likes and stuff like that are hidden. There's no reason that people need to see that. I feel like it's nobody's business, it's not my business. If we stop seeing it, if we stop seeing numbers, and we stop focusing on that, we can have a much more balanced level of understanding between us, our work, and the work that we share.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm very intentional just about how I carry myself on social media.
I was gonna say your presence always has come up really earnest. It's kind of just like what I pictured the original internet being. It's like it's just blogging. We're just here to blog about our
Yeah.
lives, and it's what MySpace was. It's what Tumblr was. It's like early
Yeah,
YouTube kind of vibe, and that's what
absolutely.
people want. It's kind of what we yearned for because it's less pressure to like be this I don't know perfect
Yeah.
version of ourselves.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's kinda weird how we've sort of nurtured this idea of like, "Oh, your Instagram page needs to look so cohesive, and you can only post art on your art Instagram
It's
or something."
it's
Like
really it's really too much work.
Yeah, for me, I'm
We
like,
got enough going
I
on.
mean, I'm just gonna post the thing I want, and if it's something that I wanna share, it's gonna look cohesive anyway because it's coming from me, It doesn't.
Exactly.
I'm like, today I'm sharing my Tamagotchi collection, tomorrow I'm sharing my house, and maybe the next day I'll share a drawing if I feel like it. I try not to take it too seriously because I
The
feel like,
silly is what makes it fun to
yeah,
follow.
yeah, just have fun, and the right people will always find you,
Mhm.
no matter
And
what.
if they don't like it, you don't really want them in your space anyway, so
Yeah, yeah, the right people will always find you. I feel so fortunate and so lucky that thankfully, I think most of the people who are part of my sort of internet community, they all like get me and they get each other. I've never like it's very, very rare that someone doesn't sort of get the kind of person that I am.
Mhm.
Usually I feel like everyone who's found my work or follows me or something like that really understands what I'm going for as a person and as an artist and as like an e-commerce brand. So, it's so rare to meet people who don't get it if you really put yourself out there in a genuine way.
Yeah. I'd love to talk a little bit how you became an e-commerce brand because I
Sure,
know
yeah.
you interned at Cartoon Network on We Root
Mhm.
Bears. How did that happen, and did that was that part of the shift into becoming your own little company?
Mhm, sure, yeah. So, okay, when I went to college, we did touch on I got to academic probation. After that, I was like,
Mhm.
"Okay, this comp sci thing's not gonna work. I need to put myself in a position where I can be creative, but still can reasonably have a degree that would be good for other jobs, maybe if the art thing
Just no more
didn't apply."
numbers, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So I pivoted into what our school's program called digital design at the University of Colorado, Denver. So digital design was more UX and UI forward, and it was more about design thinking and branding. So it had nothing to do with illustration or art or anything. So I still had no like illustration, I think, chops or expertise or technical ability at that point. I was just drawing for fun and, learning online and everything like that, and just following a lot of really cool artists and teaching myself. And then when I switched into that program, I mean, I found it so helpful, and I still find it helpful for who I am today. I don't think necessarily the major and the degree itself has gotten me to the place where I am in terms of e-commerce, but I do think a lot of the stuff I've learned in different classes there has shaped how I think about business,
Mhm.
and because of that, I think it has made me more successful and realistic in how I approach my work in business. So, a lot of the classes that I took in school were around human-centered design, human-centered like thinking around design, and then brand identity and thinking about brand and branding and how it exists in the minds of consumers. So I've always really held those values really strongly in my business, and that kind of plays into how my internships also sort of played out. So before Cartoon Network, I did an internship with Mattel over in El Segundo in California. And for Mattel, I put together a resume and it was really colorful and very fun. And, I am a firm believer in always curating each of your resumes for the
Yes.
company and brand that you're applying to. I very much like doing that, mostly because I just like to be over the top with anything that I'm going to do.
Which,
But
toy did you work under Mattel with?
yeah, so I was under their girls design team, and so I was working mainly under brands like Polly Pocket. At the time, there was also a new launch we worked on called Gleamers. It was the same team that did Monster High, so we got to like blue sky pitch a lot of different ideas and designs for toys, and it was really cool. A lot of my good friends that I met at that internship, I'm still really good friends with today.
Nice.
And, being at Mattel was very interesting for a lot of reasons. I think I learned a lot about myself as a person, but, I did that
I worked with Mattel
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
year on Monster High and Barbie, and I also
Yeah.
learned a lot about myself. They're an interesting company.
They are very corporate, I will say. They're corporate, and they have mainly older men in positions of decision making, which is very interesting. I very much still love them and learned so much from them, but I think that experience is what taught me so much about understanding target demographics, business, and sales. And I mean, it's an incredible program. I think anyone who can intern there should totally intern there. At least at the time I was there, I believe it's changed a bit now. I don't know if they still do the same stuff, but they used to do like every couple weeks, like speaker presentations where we got to speak to different people in the
Nice.
company and in design and stuff. We got to pitch things. We did meet Enon, who is the, I think, CEO of Mattel, and he came to talk with us. And,
Huh.
I was like a very like haughty kid at the time who just like had so much fire and energy. So, You know,
Yeah.
I remember when we met with them at the speaker presentation, and he was telling us about toys and what his visions for Mattel were. And, I was like, I mean, when are you guys gonna, work around the whole gender specific identities that you've created for a lot of your toys? How come whenever I pitch a toy or something like that in the girls' team, there has to be like a boy counterpart or something? It's a little weird. And he was like, yeah, that's unfortunate, but that's kind of like the way the world is. People want like very specific like gender identities for what certain toys and stuff looks like. And so I think it taught me like, hearing those kind of things and realizing how difficult it is to cater to a large global demographic. It made me realize I want to work like at a smaller scale where I get to make decisions that, can be beloved and sold to a wide demographic of people and have a neutrality to it that isn't pinned to a very specific norm, because it just wasn't something that I leaned with. So I learned a lot about myself at that one, where I was like, man, if I was to handle like my business and my own work and my designs differently, it would be for like a larger demographic of people. Like I don't want to make things just for children. I don't want to make things just for adults. I want to make something that kind of can speak to a wide range of people and a wide range of genders and just a sense of like neutrality, I guess.
Mhm.
I've always fought with myself on just like, male and female and pinks and blues and all of that. And so, being there really taught me like, oh, that's something that's a non-compromisable for me when it comes to working and when it comes to branding and business. I need to make something for myself to see what that looks like. So yeah, I finished the Mattel internship, pitched toys and things like that, learned about how to pitch and design for toys and product, understanding consumer goods, understanding consumer products. And I think that lends really well to my merchandise creation now because I have a very specific mentality about how I create product now. And it's as a result of having done that internship and learning what best industry practices are when you're going to design and create product. And then the next year, I did do the Cartoon Network internship, like you mentioned, and it's really funny. Mattel asked for me to come back that next year, and I mean, they're amazing. They're really good at trying to get you to come back, and they pay really well as well. They pay their interns like a very competitive rate,
Nice.
and they paid a stipend for me to move over there. So they paid for me to move the first year. So the second year, they're like, hey, we'll pay for you to move from Colorado to California again to be here for
Uh,
the next 3 months. And, at the time, for Mattel interns, if you were there, you're almost pretty much guaranteed a job after you graduate if you were an intern that year. So they were like, hey, if you come back, there's like a high chance we're offering you a job afterwards because the team loves you so much and we would really love to have you here again. And then that same year, I applied to Cartoon Network and I got into Cartoon Network as well. And Cartoon Network doesn't offer a stipend and their pay is, I think, half of what Mattel's is for their
that makes sense.
interns. Yeah, but honestly, it's amazing they paid their interns at all. I'd rather an internship pay their interns than not pay their interns.
Definitely.
But yeah, no stipend, half the wage. So it was like a little bit more difficult, but
What drew you to take it despite
I
the lack of stipend?
yeah, I thought about it for a long time. And again, this kind of leads into how I view my business and how I view life, but I look at everything as like a long-term goal or like a very
Mhm.
big stretch. I look at my life as one whole moving sort of piece. And for me, there's no benefit in taking an experience that I've already had and not learning anything from it because I'm in college, I'm young, I'm trying to figure out what I like, and it just wouldn't make sense for me to take the same internship, learn the same thing, and not grow as a person and an individual. I don't see benefit in that, even if it means I will get, work or a guaranteed job afterwards. I feel like I would have been robbing myself of an opportunity to grow and become a more diverse person if I turned down the Cartoon Network one.
That's
I
so
d
mature. That's such a mature decision to make at probably pretty
Yeah,
young.
yeah, I guess I've always and, as I was saying, like, how I'm a totally different person than I was in high school, I think because of how rough I had it like my first two,
Yeah.
like my first year of college, and then also in high school, sort of just, you know, losing myself and deleting all my social media accounts and disappearing from the internet and everything like that. After all of that, when I got to that point where I had to make that choice, I was like, I need to like grow. I need
Mhm.
to consciously make decisions and steps to grow. And what was also cool at that time was because I was sharing on social media and on Twitter, Daniel Chong, the creator of We Bear Bears, he was like a follower of my work. He saw my fan
Oh,
art that I
fun.
made. I drew a lot of different fan art of different things like Ghibli, stuff that he liked, I guess, and he saw them. And, he messaged me and he was like, "Hey, well, you should totally apply for an internship. We'd love to have you. It's not a guarantee that, you'll be our intern, but I do like your work and would like you to apply, so please consider it." So I applied and then I did the interview with their teams and got the internship. So I do think, you know, amazing that social media played a part in my life at that time. And that, decision for me to post and stuff like changed a lot of things for me because the right people were
Yeah.
seeing it. And yeah, such an amazing experience. But yeah, I got to be on Cartoon Network. I was a production assistant, and I'm still friends with so many of the people who are on there. And I learned so much about the animation industry, and it taught me a lot about things that I think work and things that I think don't work in a job setting. And, as a production assistant, you're just running around and doing so many
Doing a
different
little bit of
things.
everything.
Yeah, doing a little bit of everything, and it's really unseen work. I feel like everyone should be required to work as a production assistant once or something, so they can get a feel for the non-creative side of the industry.
You
Uh,
learn the whole pipeline too, you kinda
yeah,
learn what
yeah.
everyone does. It's a
Mhm.
good learning experience and makes you grateful for production. I'm biased though, but I am a production worker, so
Yeah, I feel like everyone should have to work production assistant, that and, like, a retail job at least once.
Mhm.
Like, it should be a requirement globally that everyone has to do that.
Food service, just some
Yeah. I
customer
think it'll
facing
teach
work.
people to just be more humble and more grateful and understanding of people who help the world keep moving
Mhm.
at the pace that
Behind the
it is,
scenes.
But yeah, I mean, that was such an amazing experience, and Daniel really took me under his wing when I was at that internship because as an intern, each of us who are on the shows are allowed to pitch a show at the end of the summer.
That's
So
cool.
he really, really worked. Like, he took time out and scheduled time with me really intently to help me put together a pitch that I ended up pitching at the end of the summer, and taught me so much about what works for, like, a character, what works for a story, what works for narratives, what works in drawings, and, he's just got such a good grasp of, like, character storytelling, and, I mean, you can see that in We Bear Bears when you
Mhm.
watch his work, and I'm sure we'll all see that once his new movie comes out as
I know.
well.
I'm so excited.
I know, he's yeah, just what an amazing person, and you can genuinely tell he wants to, like, give and mentor people and, like, very wholeheartedly, so I think, like, every other intern I also know who was on the Bears team had a great time, and they just nurtured, like, the most amazing environment. It was so cool to be there, like, in the Cartoon Network building during I think, like, its last
I
actual
know.
year. Yeah, because right after I did that internship, COVID happened, so the intern
Oh,
after me did not get to come in person, I believe. Um,
that's a bummer. Can I ask?
yeah.
I never got a chance to walk in the hallowed halls. What was the building like? Do you have a favorite memory of the building?
Oh, man, I just think so each floor was really cool because they each get different snacks, and I think our
Mm,
floor, the
mm.
Bears floor, I think we had bananas, mostly fruit, and I think packaged stuff,
Nice.
but they had somebody bring snacks at a certain time every day, and you could just see everybody kind of, like, waiting for
Come running.
2 o'clock, I think, to happen to go grab their snacks, and then on the, I think, bottom floor, there was a pancake machine. That was my favorite way to start every morning.
Oh my god.
I'd turn the
Amazing.
pancake machine on, I'd make, like, 2 or 3 pancakes, I'd grab a banana from the Bears floor, cut up the banana, put it on my pancakes, and then enjoy some banana pancakes, and that
Decadence.
I started every morning like that, and I was like, "Oh, man, life is so good," there's just the really simple things like that feel really good.
Yeah.
And there was another floor that was a cereal bar, and
Wow.
it was just a whole lineup of cereal. You could just, eat a bunch of different flavor cereal. And the Bears floor had an arcade. We had a secret private arcade in
Cute.
the back with a bunch of arcade games. So there were just so many cool things about the building, and it felt so it just felt so special, and I feel so
Mhm.
sad people will never get to see it again because it's gone, but there's that famous stairwell, which I'm
Yeah.
sure you know, but that stairway, I remember going with, like, my really close intern friend, Elle. The 2 of us went to that stairway, and we drew, and we left our intern mark there, and, oh, man,
Oh,
it's just, just a really cool thing if you grew up watching cartoons to get to be part of that sort of history, even though it's gone now, and, no
it
one
really
will really
does
see it,
feel
but
weird to be alive at a time where, like, something that momentous disappears. It's
yeah,
very surreal.
I can't really believe it, yeah, it's hard to think Cartoon Network's building is just not there, and really Cartoon Network itself is not, like, physically there anymore, so
Yeah, without the building, it feels gone, you know? I know the bumper is still there in some of the shows, but it's like, I don't know, it just feels different.
yeah, end of an era and just history and all
Yeah.
the cool things that sort of happened there, but
Well, I'm glad that you got to be part of it because it's really important that you tell those stories so the youngins, the Gen Zers can
Yeah, I mean,
can listen.
I'm so grateful. Yeah, I'm so glad that I decided to go that avenue,
Mhm.
and to do that internship. I learned so much about myself, and I think I became a stronger speaker and a stronger storyteller because of that, and I also am more grounded, I feel like, as a person and how I navigate and view the world because of that internship. So, that directly correlates into my work and e-commerce and my business and everything.
So after your internship, what were your next steps?
Yeah. So I finished the internship, went back to school right after that. And at that time, I was already selling products part-time at
Uh-huh.
events. So in order to pay for things for my schooling, like my textbooks and various things that I wanted or art supplies or something, I started boothing and attending events. And I was mostly just doing fan art. I started in fan art. Don't let anybody tell
Always a
you
solid
anything.
start, you know?
Yeah, don't let anybody tell you anything about fan art. Genuinely
People love
loving
it.
stuff, yeah, genuinely loving stuff is a good thing, and you can make money from it. And that's
Amen.
and, and that's just the way it is. And so, yeah, I was doing fan art at the time just of stuff that I love, shows I was watching, and, like,
Did
any
you have
anime
any
or cartoon series.
favorites that you did?
When I kind of came back to the social media verse, there was this game on mobile called Mystic Messenger,
Mhm.
and I was just lost in the sauce. I loved it, and I made so much merchandise of it,
That's
and
awesome.
I made so many friends from the Mystic Messenger community, and I
Shout out
think
the Mystic Messenger
yeah, shout out
community.
to Mystic Messenger. I think, honestly, I genuinely wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for Mystic Messenger. I actually came back to Twitter and online under the name, like, Honey Butter because of the honey butter chips that one of the characters eats in
Oh
the
my gosh,
game.
that's so cute.
So my name was Honey Butter, and then I was selling merch and fan art and everything like that. But then as, the Mystic Messenger and everything started to die, I mean, I built a really big, like, community of people who loved
Uh-huh.
Mystic Messenger and then, followed me for my art and everything because of that. But, as it started to die, I was like, "Oh, I'm really into something else now. I really wanna draw," like, I don't know, Steven Universe or,
Yeah.
you know, How to Train Your Dragon and other merch like that. So I started to just share, like, my other fan art a little bit more, and I was like, "Oh, well, my username doesn't really work anymore since I'm not really in Mystic Messenger anymore, so what should I do?" So I changed my username. I used Liliuhms because Lily, my name is Lily, and the genus of the lily flower species is Lilium, like
Oh.
Lilium, like Lilium is the genus of the lily flower species. And then I say a lot when I'm thinking, or when you're thinking of
Yeah.
something, you say everyone says or something. So when I'm drawing, I'm like so I was like, okay, Lilium is the genus of the flower species. Lilium is me thinking. So I went with Liliums as my username, and that's just the one I stuck with. So then, yeah, that's where Liliums came from. When I was pivoting a little bit away from that specific fan art, I went under that alias, and I thought it's really important when I come up with a new username. What I think is important is for it to be something that is easy to say, something that's memorable, something people can find really easily, and it still has some sort of association to yourself so that people don't really forget who it is. So I use my real first name so people will always have a callback to me and myself and my sense of self because I don't want to be separated from my art in that sort of way. And then it's really quick and easy, just Liliuhms, like really, really quick, really, really easy. So if people were to be talking, when people talk about my work or something like that, or maybe are trying to think of someone that might be good for a certain project or something, they might think, oh, who is that artist I know from online? Their name is Liliuhms
Yeah.
when they're thinking about me.
They could literally go, "Lily, oh, it's Lily
So
Ums."
exactly, yeah, it's good brand reinforcement, so that's kind of the way
Yeah.
I viewed it when I came up with my new name. So, yeah, went under Liliuhms, and then I started to sell original merch because I had this character I was already drawing since high school, and it was Bun, my little bunny
I was
character.
gonna ask, I was like, "Can I ask the origins of Bun?"
Yeah.
It's so
So
perfect.
in high school, I was drawing Bun on all of my homework and notes and class notes, and I just doodle it on the side, something really quick because I get distracted so easily during classes. I can't focus. So I would draw this little character that was sort of like a personification of me. And at that time, I liked just bunnies and bunny
Mhm.
creature characters. And Bun used to look drastically different back then, like huge ears, really skinny face. But yeah, I draw this character and I draw them saying little catchphrases. And sometimes I would post my school notes because I really loved sharing photos of my notes. And
Mhm.
I think at that time on Instagram, the girlies loved a little picture of a notebook with a pencil on it. So, I'd
Yeah.
share something like that. And people started to really like my little bunny character. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll make some stickers or some buttons of them. And back in the old days when merch was first being made, most people, you honestly couldn't produce at the scale and quality that you can now. So I would take this printer that I bought that was on sale with my like allowance money or something. And then I got some sticker paper and I started printing out stickers of my bun character.
Nice.
And I kiss cut each one. Like I got an X-Acto knife and I would cut
Wow.
it each one just enough so people could use it as a sticker sheet. And then
That's
I bought
dedication.
yeah, I bought, like, a secondhand sticker machine from somebody, and a button machine from somebody, and I started making buttons of my character. So I'd print it on my printer, I cut them out, and then I'd make all my buttons one by one, and then I'd sell those local events and anime conventions and, um,
Oh,
like, all of those things. And at that time, I also had a lot of online friends who were selling fan art at, like, anime cons, and I was like, "Whoa, that's really cool. I didn't know that you could go to anime cons. I didn't know there were anime conventions and stuff, when I was in high
yeah.
school. So I went to my first anime convention back in when I was in, I think, like, 8th grade, 7th or 8th grade, and I was so blown away that people could, like, sell their merch and stuff. So I was I started selling fan art through high school, and then little bits of my Bun character at the end of that, like, high school. And then when I got back into, like, sharing my work online, I was like, "Okay, let me bring back my little bunny character, let me bring back the fan art and start making more stuff and sharing them more." And then people started to really latch onto him. They really loved his look, they loved his, like, nipples and his energy, and I think,
He's a little
um
sassy guy.
yeah, yeah, early on, there weren't as many mascot character artist,
Mhm.
like me. There weren't that many people who, like, were making original goods or, like, a mascot that was theirs, that fit under their artist name or something. So,
You're filling a
people
gap, I think, because people love a little guy now,
yeah, so
especially, but
people were really into a little guy, when I started sharing it. Yeah, now the little guys are everywhere, but,
yeah, people are
yeah, that
hungry for little guys.
yeah, that's where it sort of came from, and there were so many Asian brands that I loved in
Mhm.
Asia itself that have mascots and characters, like Baskin Robbins had one and Mr. Donuts and everything like that, and I was like, "Oh, like, Asia knows exactly what they're doing." They have a
Yes,
little
they do.
creature as representative of them, and I was like, "Why not us? Why can't we have little characters?" So I started making more character merchandise because I was just so sad that here in the West, we didn't get to have those, so I was like, "Okay, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to make the thing that I want." and that's how I've always carried myself and my brand and e-commerce. It's if there's something I want made, I will make a version of it. If I feel like there's a something I need or problem that could be fixed and I could make something for it, I will make the thing that I want. And that's how I've always carried myself. And my brand is just if there's the thing I want, I'll make it. I'll never just make stuff for sales reasons. I don't make stuff for virality reasons. I don't make stuff
Mhm.
just to like make money off of it. It has to be something I genuinely am going to want and I genuinely will use. And that's how, a lot of my products sort of come to life. And I've always really stuck with that. Thankfully, it's worked out from
Yeah,
fan
and I
art to
think
now.
it's always stuff that I think other people really want. I mean, I'm very biased because I always want it, but I do use it all. Like, recently, the hair clips and the house purse are both,
Mhm.
like, such wins for me because I do use them very often. Like, they're very practical, but they're also
Right.
so cute, and I feel like these kind of, like, practical things usually aren't that cute. There's just, like, a vacuum of it.
Mhm,
Not as much now, I guess, because I guess the market is realizing, like, the girlies do want whimsy, but
mhm.
for a long time, there just wasn't that. So, like, when you switch
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the long bee merch and the bun merch, it was like, "Oh my god, finally something that is, like, actually cute and practical," was so
Yeah.
refreshing.
Yeah, I think more and more people are starting to find that they want to showcase their sense of self and their personal identities through the stuff that they own. And, good. I think everybody should do that. I feel like design for a while and mainstream products had stagnated where there's just everything looks the same and everybody looks the same and, I think we should really be encouraged to showcase all the parts of us that are fun and happy and silly and colorful, and it can be cute and it can be childish and it can be all of these things, and that's totally okay. I'm, very much under the mentality that a product can be for everyone at any age and, should showcase exactly who they are and who they want to be.
Yeah, and you've done an amazing job cultivating that, and I'm so excited to see the stuff you keep on making because 'cause I'm sure it'll keep growing and developing with you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's cool because I went to school in Colorado, so I would go to Denver sometimes to escape the springs and
Oh, where did you go to school?
Colorado College. Nothing
Oh, in
big.
is that in Colorado Springs? Or is
Yeah.
it CC is that CCCS?
No, it's just CC, Colorado
Oh, okay,
College,
okay, okay.
but it's like a small liberal arts college just in the heart of Colorado Springs.
Oh, I think Colorado Springs is nice though. They have that amazing old town. I
Mhm.
drive up to that old town often just 'cause I like the vibe.
Yeah, if you're ever in the Springs and you drive near downtown, it's literally like a block from downtown, and it's just a very tiny campus.
Oh, well, did you like it there?
I did. I think it was weird because it's a liberal arts college, it's
Uh-huh.
very rich. There were so many, like, kids of the top 1% went there, and it was just like,
Oh.
"Wow." I was there on scholarship, so it was like, what a jarring
Were you originally from
experience.
Colorado?
No, I came from Florida, South Florida.
Oh, okay. Well, honestly, maybe a better change of pace for Florida.
Yes,
No
it
offense to
definitely
Florida,
was.
but there's a
All the
lot
offense to
happening.
Florida.
Yeah, yeah, a lot happening in Florida.
Yes, I think Florida some people in Florida deserve better. Most people.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I loved Colorado. I really liked the weather.
Yeah, we have amazing weather.
Yeah, and I liked driving to Denver. We'd always get sushi in Denver, which was funny because 'cause you're so
Oh.
landlocked.
Well, you know what's so funny is Colorado gets some of the freshest fish in all of the US because we are the central hub and all fish has to be frozen, right? It's like
Oh,
all sushi fish has to be frozen no matter what. Even in Japan, it has to be frozen
mm,
at low temperatures to kill off the parasites.
that makes
So
sense.
anyway, yeah, since we're the middle hub, everything comes to Denver before it gets distributed to the other states. So before it goes to New York, before it goes to, like, California
No,
sushi
then it
restaurants,
was
before it does anything
perfect.
else. Yeah, so Denver actually gets all of the fish first and then
Yeah.
distributes it to the remainder cities. So
We
whenever
would go
people say
to
something, I'm like, "You guys don't know anything."
we would go to Cherry Park. They would always have, like, really nice fancy sushi places, and we'd eat there.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah,
If you
it was
come
fun.
back, Tamaki Den, I think, is the best one here,
Okay.
and
You've been
yeah.
posting all these food places, and I'm like, "I really missed out. I didn't go to enough places in Denver."
We have so much good food, and I think yeah,
Yeah.
I share them often because more often than not, people who come to visit here always say that we have bad food and that Denver doesn't have
I don't
good
think that's
food.
true.
Yeah,
Denver
people
has
always say
good food.
yeah, people always say Colorado doesn't have good food and we're not California, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, "Well,
Just
guys,
gotta look.
we're like this big and California's this big, okay? We're not gonna, first of all, be able to compare to the population density. But not
It's
just
true.
that, if you want to eat something really good, you have to just travel a little farther here to go eat it. So whenever people complain about how our food isn't good, I have to go somewhere good to eat, then I have to post it on my
Like, look,
story. And I'm like, "Oh, we have good food. Please go support them." I'm like a huge advocate for local restaurants. So
me
anytime I
too.
eat somewhere, I post it, I tag it, I make sure people on the internet see it. I'm like, I don't care if I'm not a food account. I don't care if I'm an art account.
You're a food account
I
in my heart. I'm like, "That is delicious. I wanna know where you're getting
Yeah.
your snacks. They're so
Yeah,
good."
yeah. There's so much good food here. People are always surprised. They're like, "Well, where is this?" I'm like, "Colorado." They're like, "No way. Colorado doesn't have good food." I'm like, "I've had it. I've had it up to here." And so
Even Colorado
I, you know,
Springs had good, like, really hidden, like, good spots. Like,
yeah,
you
there's
just have
hidden
to
gems over there.
all the little
There's like
local spots were always good.
Yeah, there's like a cute tea house over there, the one that serves little
Mhm.
dim sum and
Yeah, there was really good spots.
yeah, there's cute places and good places to eat. I'm sick of the Colorado slander, and I don't wanna
No
hear it
Colorado
anymore.
Thunder.
Yeah.
Our
If
f
one
I
thing
think I would go back to Colorado Springs for 2 places. It was Bingo Burger. I love Bingo Burger. It had the best burgers, and they would do, like, peppers from, what was that little town? Like, an hour away,
Pueblo?
they would put yeah, Pueblo. Pueblo peppers
Pueblo.
in the burgers, so good. And then the
Mhm.
sushi place in Colorado Springs was my favorite. They did Tokyo Towers, and they were so good.
Yeah. If there's one thing that needs to stay in the podcast, it's that Colorado has good food. I don't need anyone
I'll
to
keep
take
this in.
anything yeah, I don't need anyone to take anything away from this podcast from me, except for Colorado has good food, okay? We're deserving of it. We are the 7th or 8th most educated state in the nation, okay? So,
So many
put some
colleges,
respect on us. Yeah, put some respect on us. We've got a lot going for us. We have a higher dog adoption rate than childbirth rate.
so many dogs
Mhm,
there. It's a great place to
mhm,
walk around. You could take a dog to any restaurant
yeah.
and have a great meal.
Yeah. Just all around, we've got a lot of really good things going for us, legalizing
Bike
weed
speak.
and everything. We did that. That was us. We did it first, okay? Lots of we're we're, getting things moving. Chipotle's from here. Crocs
Yep.
is from here. You guys
Well,
wouldn't
I
have
didn't even
Crocs if it
know
wasn't
that.
for us. Yeah, Crocs headquarters is here. That's us. We did that. And why wouldn't we? We're mountain people and we need shoes that can walk in
Be
rivers.
casual or go in
Yeah.
sports mode, you know?
Yeah. It
Need to
needs
be
all
able
of
to
it.
make it.
We as Coloradans have contributed so much to this great
It's great
nation and
nation.
or yeah, and,
Yeah.
want some respect on the or just some respect on the state.
Amen. Go to Colorado, have a great meal, and then leave a comment.
Yeah, 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 everyone go to Colorado, have a meal, snip just this portion of the podcast, set it as your ringtone, and
Yeah.
call it a
Tell
day.
us we sent you to have a great meal.
Go to Tamaki Den, let them know I sent you.
Well, we're reaching the end of our time, and I know you've got stuff to do, so I wanna make
Well, you're
sure
totally welcome. If you have any more questions, totally ask away. I've allotted the time for you, so don't worry about it.
I wanted to ask if you had any advice for people who also wanted to grow their own e-commerce brand. Do you have any advice for young people or people pivoting, stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I have a whole written spiel on this. I answered this a lot for students, so let me actually pull up and see
I
if I have a
figured.
Google. Yeah, I have a lot of students email me all the time for this, and so I
You
think
can just
I
send
have
them the
something.
audio clip and be like, "Here."
Yeah. Okay, I just did one for somebody like a couple days ago. Um, yeah. So if you want to start an e-commerce brand, let's see. I think my most important thing is please be very thoughtful about your financials.
Mm,
Please. I have seen way too many times where people they see the idea of becoming an online brand, an e-commerce artist or a merch artist and they shell out thousands of dollars to create product that is too high end, too high quality right from the get-go. And there's nothing wrong with that. but you have to be very realistic about what that looks like financially. There was this other artist who asked me for advice before, and I gave them this whole spiel about finances, and I told them, please don't make more than one color variant of apparel when you release, because they were like, I'm gonna make
Yeah.
pants. They were like, I'm gonna make pants, I'm gonna make cardigans, I'm gonna make vests, I'm gonna make a jacket, like all of these things. I'm gonna do it on Kickstarter, and I'm gonna have pre-orders and all of this. And
A
I
lot
was
from
like,
the
whoa.
get-go.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, whoa, when you're starting, and this is not to dim anyone's fire or anything, but you have to be really realistic, or else you're not setting yourself up for good long-term financial stability. Start with a single product, maybe two products. If you're going to make something that is high cost and high value, because it will just wipe you if you don't make enough sales to pay it back. Those kinds of
Yeah.
things are really important. So I think financial literacy is so, so, so important if you're going to start a business or make your own products. Start really small. I always tell people start small, make something that is low cost, high reward. So like stickers, right? You could make vinyl stickers and you can make them locally, you can make them in house, you can make them on your printer or something. Let's say each of those stickers costs $1 each, but you can sell those stickers for $4, right? So that has a 4x, you know, profit margin to production cost. So, if you're making, let's say you make 10 stickers and it costs you $10, right? You'll only need to sell like 3 of those stickers at $4 to make back the cost and profit. And then the
Yeah.
rest of it is profit, right? So you have to sort of think about it in that sort of way when you create stuff. Think about how you can, you know, make money from things that don't cost as much but can still be a nice quality product. Then as you earn a little bit more money over time, you can use that to make things that are a little bit more pricey or expensive to make it more sustainable for you as an artist or person. And some people take out business loans, some people have money from the get-go. Everyone's got a different sort of financial position. But I do think having basic financial literacy is so, so, so necessary in this business and in this line of work. Don't use PayPal as a bank, guys. It's not a bank. They are a privately owned company.
I've
Okay,
heard
they
so many
can.
horror stories from PayPal taking money from people. It's not
Yes.
great.
They are not a bank. They are a privately owned company. They can take your money and hold it for as long as they want because they are not a bank. So don't keep your money there. Immediately always transfer your money. Be very smart about how you handle finances, because even though you're making art and it's your passion and it's your hobby and you love it, you still have to think about the logistical business side of it. It's just necessary. I think that is where people get stuck the most. I've seen people go into debt and have bills to pay over not being realistic about how they handle their finances. And, it's really important that they kind of nail that really early on. So if you're going to make product, never make anything that will put you in a position that is so bad that you're going to be unable to pay your product costs or your bills or your fees or your livelihood. You know, I think take
Mhm.
risks on product where even if you didn't sell any of it, you would still be financially okay. That's sort of my mentality. So like, if I make a new product, I'm like, okay, if this plush just sat there and I didn't sell even one piece, I would still be okay. That's kind of the way I think about like a lot of products and things. So I'm like, if you put yourself in a really bad place and you make a really high end product really, really early on, like cardigans or something like that, just make sure you know what those costs look like, the production costs, the minimum order quantity, the shipping costs, the cost to ship it to your clients, the cost to buy packaging for it, how heavy it is, all of that kind of stuff. Just make sure you nail logistics really early on. That way you can have a really long-term sustainable business. And then outside of that, outside of like the very serious financial side of it,
That is
I mean,
really important.
incredibly important. I feel like I'm all fun and games in general, usually, right? I love a little silly haha fun time, but I also always want people to. I never ever want somebody to take my advice or something and put themselves in a bad position. They're like, oh, she lives so willy nilly and life is so carefree, and I too can do that and I'll be free. Like, no, I don't want anybody to. I want people to live optimistically, but not like
To a degree,
unrealistically. Does that
unsafe,
make sense?
you
Like,
know?
yeah,
Yeah.
there's like positive, like optimism that's realistic, and then there's negative idealism. And I think
Mhm.
you have to kind of have an understanding of what that looks like. But, outside of the business stuff, outside of the finance stuff, outside of the more serious stuff, I think, always stay true to your personal integrity. Don't create work for the sake of virality. Like, if you create a product and it's just to be viral, it has no long-term sustainability most of the time. People will forget them. You want to make something that you genuinely think is going to build you a community that continuously wants to purchase from you again because they understand who you are as a person, because they understand who you are as a brand. Yeah, I would say don't do things for followings, for statistics or numbers. Don't let those kinds of things take space in your heart when you're starting out as an e-commerce brand. I think, sharing your work and leading in your life with the things that you hold with value to yourself is essential. I never share anything online that I don't think has value to me, because if I don't hold value in it, I don't think anyone else will. A lot of my friends, or one of my friends who's a freelancer, had said, or like I was talking to him about how gets continuous freelance work even though he doesn't post online that often. And he said, like, I don't post often, but when I do post, everything I post has a lot of work put into it. And it's like putting a worm on a hook that I put into the water, and then when I reel it in, there will be people who genuinely see the amount of intention, research, and thought that I put into this, and then they'll want to hire me for stuff. So that has been his mentality. And, ever since he told me that, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. It makes sense to share your behind the scenes, share your work, share your process, and then it'll bring in, all of the right people who want to sort of purchase your stuff. But yeah, that's kind of my main mantra of it. And then of course, always be brave. Never be afraid of hearing a no. A lot of the cool projects that I've gotten to do is just from asking. I'm really good at like pitching myself, really good at sharing my ideas, and I'm good at like telling people why I think I I would be beneficial to, like, their project or something like that, because I do a lot of freelance outside of e-commerce. Yeah, don't be afraid of sharing all your ideas. Your infectious love for creating will always be found by people who want to see what you have to say. Be human, because art can't be created without humanity. I think people should go out there, live your life, and enjoy life. Don't make your art and your e-commerce side of it or something, or your business your entire existence. I think you need to be alive to make better art and better products. So just enjoy it and enjoy being around your fellow people, all of those things I think will make you a better business person, a better art person, and just a better person. Yeah.
That's such a beautiful ending to it. That's great advice. See, you could just clip that, and then when anyone asks you, just, like, email it them like, "Here you go."
Yeah. I'll link them that.
Thank you for sharing that, that's really sweet. I think that's
Yeah,
great
of course.
advice, and I have so many other things I that come
Yeah.
to mind, I'm like
Feel free to
but just I'm gonna, like, spitball just all the amazing
uh-huh.
things that I think this is just not even, like it doesn't even have to go on the podcast, but just, like, personally, like, I got married 2 weeks ago? I don't know, pretty recently, but your wedding was, like, the number one inspiration on my mood board. It was, like, center because it was just so you, and that was a really big thing. It's like, our wedding, we wanted it to be fun. We were like, "We're gonna have fun on our wedding day," was the core, but also, like, the fact that you themed it to your identities was a big inspiration for us, and so at the end of the day, that's what it was, and everyone kept complimenting, like, "Your wedding was so you," and I was like, "I did it." So thank you for sharing your process and all of your
Oh, that's
decor because
amazing.
it was really
Yeah.
helpful.
I get so many people who come up to talk about my wedding all these years later. I
Mhm.
think, like, 60% of the people who come to my booths and stuff love to talk about my wedding and bring it up. So
It's an inspiration.
I'm just really grateful that, yeah, people, and it's so amazing to see the amount of weddings that have come out from it, and, like, people's really cool invitations that they've given me and everything. I just feel so happy and honored, and I feel like most people maybe would never have considered, "Oh, a wedding is supposed to be about me," because
Yeah,
there's this idea that a wedding is all of these other things because of what we see on movies and television and online and everything. And, the wedding planner blogs all look sort of the same, and so yeah.
it was so hard because I would go on Instagram, but everything looked, I don't know, like Instagram, I guess, and I was
Yeah,
like, "This isn't what
yeah.
I want." And so I had to
Mhm.
make a lot of it from like scratch in my head and like piecemeal it. But at the end of the day, it was like, I know I just want it to look like what is in my head. And so
Yeah.
having yours as a kind of like an anchor was super helpful. So thank
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I'm so proud of that. I feel like it's one of those things that I did that will stay with me forever because people, like, saw it and they were like, "Oh my gosh, like, I wanna be exactly who I am. I should just be unashamed to be exactly who I am, have a wedding that's just for me, and if nobody understands it, that's totally okay." And, that's
yeah,
exactly what I wanted to get people to get out of it, you know, I shared my invitations and a lot of our wedding photos online because I wanted people to see it and think, "Whoa, weddings can be so fun." They're not that
weddings can
serious.
be fun.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
being in love with someone is an incredible thing, and why shouldn't we celebrate how awesome that is and how awesome the 2 of us are individually coming together to make something even more awesome. So, yeah, I'm so happy I shared it and that people really, like, ran with it, and it's been so cool to see. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
It's
so
it's
congratulations too, that's amazing.
thank you. It was a journey to like put together because I had to fight so many people and like it's gonna be great. You have to trust the process.
Oh, it
But
probably went
yeah,
by so
it's
fast though, huh? All, like, all that
I
time of
know.
work and the day just gone.
It did really go fast, but it was so fun. We had a really good time, so,
That's amazing. Well,
um,
I'm so glad
it
to
was
hear
great.
that.
But yeah, I think that was a big one for me, and just the general your general vibe, like, the way you shared yourself online, I guess. I know it's not you, it's, like, the person you put forward, but it's been very inspiring in many ways of, like, little things of, like, "Oh, I'm gonna get the tattoos I want because it's whimsy." Living a whimsical life, I guess, has been a big inspiration for me from your online persona, so thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm very much that's exactly what I want. Even if no one, like, looked at my art or bought anything from me or knows anything about me, if they come across me for the first time, the only thing I want them to get out of it is, like, I should just be who I am, and it doesn't hurt if it doesn't hurt anybody, I should do whatever I want, you know? I should just enjoy my life and live with joy and happiness and
Yeah.
whimsy and, you know, it makes no difference to anybody else.
I'm gonna buy a bunch of little guys because it brings me joy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in a little guy. I have many, many little guys.
I know, I'm looking at my desk and it's just little guys. But yeah, thank you so much, Lily. Thank you for yapping with me and sharing your story.
Yeah, of course.
That was our conversation with Lily. It's just me. I don't know, that was a great time. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell, eat some good food in Colorado, tell us where you ate, or just eat local, support a local restaurant, and then tell us what it was. Post it on your story. I don't know. Support local restaurants and public media. I don't know. Thank you so much for listening. This was edited by Marv. Our art is by Les. And remember, there's not one right way to switch your major from computer science to art or digital design. And there's not one right way to become an e-commerce girly. And there's not one right way to love food in Colorado. Thank you so much for listening. Bye. Marv, I miss you.